Going on here? Come on then. How you doing? Okay. Okay, she gets a kiss because she's got the best hat. Okay. How you doing, everybody? All right. Great to see you all. Is this working? Very good. Is California working? No. Okay. How you doing? Good to see you. Well, that's why we're here. Exactly right. You need me.
Clean it up.
Clean it up. Very good. I got my marching orders. Very, very good. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Short notice. Great to see such a fantastic crowd. You only came for the food, really, which I totally understand because I love Phil's. I love Phil, actually. He's fantastic. The food is fantastic. Can we say thank you to Phil? And Cammie, there you are. Thank you, because Phil was traveling. I said, if I'm doing something in San Diego, it's got to be here at Phil's. And they said, we've got to talk to Cammie, and this is all very last minute, put together this whole thing. So thank you very much. It really, really is great to be here. I love coming here. It's fantastic. Although the things you see here when you come, and I will describe one of them this morning, is the lady shaking you. It's not good, is it, what's going on? I know. But it's still a wonderful city, a wonderful county, and you're wonderful people. So that's all that matters. So thank you very much. Exactly. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. I think that's right. But you know really why? Because you are here. That shows that you are here to fight. You are here to fight to save our beautiful state of California. We're not going to let these people drive us out. Exactly. So I just want to tell you, this is a different kind of event than maybe you've seen me do before. It's mainly about you and your questions and anything you want to ask me. So I'll do a very little speech here, but I'm not going to drone on and on forever. So don't worry about that. I really mean it. So just think about your question. We're calling it a policy forum because in the end, that's how we're going to turn California around and make it golden again, which is the theme of my campaign. We're going to make our beautiful state truly golden again. And I've got lots of ideas about how to do that, but I also learn a lot when I'm on the road, which I've been now since our launch was, God, it feels ages. It was last Tuesday, Huntington Beach. Anyone come to Huntington Beach? Oh my, you see, that's why, another reason you get a kiss. Okay, so the thing is that it really means a lot to me to be able to go around this state and meet all of you because you learn so much. But I'll tell you what I did learn that was really, I have to say, a big surprise this week. What day was it, Gav? Was it Monday? Bolinas. Yeah. Okay, so on Monday, I went to, we were over the, I live in the Bay Area, and we were just across the bay in Marin County. So who knows about Marin County? Very, very rich. Very posh. Very posh. What else is it? It is beautiful. Gavin, yes, exactly. Gavin Newsom lives there. And it's very, very liberal. And we were going there because there's a terrible story, actually, that I wanted to highlight. Just like I wanted to come here and highlight a story, which I'll get to in a minute. I wanted to highlight the story about ranchers. Yeah, ranch, you can get away with it. I'm just learning there are certain words. You've heard me say this before, Paula, where, you know, thank you for accepting my British accent. Yeah, I know. Well, hang on a second. The farm thing, exactly. But I am an American, just to be clear. Those of you who haven't seen me, you know, I've got the accent, but I'm a proud American. And there are certain words that when you've got to say them in an American accent. And I just suddenly realized ranchers is a little bit posh. Ranchers, exactly. Especially when we're in a barbecue place, right? You gotta say ranchers. Anyway, there's these ranchers in a place called Point Reyes, which is a beautiful, beautiful area just north of San Francisco, just across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we go there often. We live in the Bay Area. And they've been there for hundreds of years with cattle, and it's a very big dairy area, beautiful rolling hills, green grass, fantastic climate for ranching. Unbelievably, these people and it's been there for generations, they've been driven off their land by bureaucrats, by ridiculous bureaucrats who have no idea what they're talking about, no idea what they're doing. And it's not just the individual story that I wanted to tell, and we're going to put the video out later, I think over the weekend. It's representative of so much that's going wrong, where you have distant bureaucrats who are just imposing their rules and their ideology, and they have no idea what it really means to try and run a business or live your life in the face of all this nonsense. And so that's really a story about everything these days in California. But anyway, so that's why we're in Marin County. And I just remember, and we were meeting the people who are taking us around near this town. So Marin County, very liberal. In Marin County, there is a town called Bolinas, Bolinas. And Bolinas is known as the most liberal town in Marin County, and pretty much the most liberal town in California, which I guess in a way makes it maybe the most liberal town in America. Anyway, I went there, and as I put on my post, I went to Bolinas, the most liberal town in California, to see if I could find anyone to vote for me. And amazingly, we did find someone. One, yes, but I'll take it. You got to take it where you. So one. That's better than that's Actually, it's not really good math. I was going to say it's double but it's not really because zero. Whatever. My son can correct me on the math. One more than I expected. Let's put it like that. But the point about it was the conversation that we had, because the first thing he said literally was, when he was thinking about what's driving his feelings about everything in politics and policy these days, he said a very, very sad thing, but we all know it's true. The California dream is gone. That's what he said. And he had his own perspective on it and what that meant in terms of starting a business, how hard it is, and the regulations. But that is what's really at the heart of my campaign, is bringing that back, the California dream. That's what I mean when I say we're going to make California golden again. And that's why the focus of my campaign are these things here: great jobs, great homes, great kids. If you just get that right, it's a very simple thing. That's what people want. A good job where you make enough to raise your family in a home of your own, in a safe neighborhood, with a good school, so your kids have a better life than you. It's really simple. And if those of you who may have seen my launch speech, the way I described it was, it's like a ladder of opportunity. Just climbing that ladder. That's what we all want. That's what my parents were Hungarian immigrants in England, and that's what we did. So I ended up going to Oxford University. My grandmother in Hungary, she was a teacher. She was so proud. Her grandson in England going to Oxford University. And then, got a job at the Conservative Party when Mrs. Thatcher was the Prime Minister, and started a business. Ended up helping elect David Cameron, another Prime Minister, working in 10 Downing Street, running another business. All these things, right, that were just that climbing the ladder of opportunity. And then we moved here in 2012 from our family, really for family reasons. My wife had a job that meant she was coming here a lot, and so we wanted to stay together. And it was the same story, that ladder of opportunity. And I got to teach at Stanford University and start a business here, and had this opportunity to host a TV show. It's just the California dream, in a way, to me, is the ultimate expression of the American dream. In fact, many people, when they think of the American dream, they think of California and that beautiful vision of that home and the yard and raising your family and the wonderful weather, all the brilliant things we have around here that they haven't managed to ruin yet. That's really the heart of this campaign. That's really what I mean when I say, let's make California golden again. And we can go into all the different aspects of that when we have the questions, and you can ask me about how I'm going to deal with taxes and regulations and housing and schools and crime, all those things. Very happy to talk about that. Not yet. One last thing.
When you become governor,
yes.
are you going to get rid of the property tax?
Get rid of the property tax. Okay. Fine. I said not yet. Why not? Let's do it. So, are you going to get rid of the property tax?
Got rid of the property tax, Governor of Florida.
Florida, you're right. So, the thing is, I thought very hard. First point, you're completely right. We have the highest taxes in the country, and it's crushing people. And it's in particular crushing working people, working class people, working families, the people who the Democrats say that they speak for all the time. They go on and social justice and equity. Everything. Well, I think you should just come and do this event because I think everything you're saying is very fantastic. So everything they say is BS.
All the time, the mainstream media, when they talk about Trump, I believe it's all BS. Trump is a good president. He's doing a good job.
Thank you very much. So I'll talk. The question was about taxes, and so I thought cutting taxes is actually the quickest way we can give people relief from this crushing burden that makes it so hard to live here. And the interesting thing is, it's not just us saying this. It's amazing, actually. If you listen to the Democrats now, including the other Democrat candidates for governor, they're saying the same thing. It's really amazing, actually. It's kind of stunning. Javier Becerra, when he announced that he was running for governor, he was the former Attorney General of California, worked in Biden's cabinet. Literally, he said in his launch video, the California dream that was there for my parents is gone. I said, yeah, who killed it? You did, with your party. You have Katie Porter, when she announced for governors, going on and on about the cost and the price, everything's so expensive. Yes, why is everything so expensive? Because of your party. Gavin Newsom saying the same thing. On and on they go about the affordability crisis. The leaders of the Democratic Party in the state legislature said this at the beginning of the year, we're not going to focus on fighting Trump like we did last time round and being the resistance. We're going to tackle the affordability crisis. Well, that didn't last long. This week, they literally said, yeah, we're bored with that. We're going to go back to fighting Trump. That's what they really love doing. But the point about, the reason I set it up like that is the burden on people is incredibly heavy. We have the highest taxes in the country. We have the highest rate of poverty in the country. Shameful. And just this week, a new survey came out. It's done every 2 years. It's really shocking because it's gone in the wrong direction. 35% of Californians cannot afford to meet their basic needs for rent, food, medical care. It's really tough for many people now in our state as a result of these Democrat policies. So the first and quickest thing we can do is to cut taxes. So that's why I wanted to explain why it's so important. The next question is, well, how and what do you cut? And I thought about that very, very hard. How do you help the people who really need the help most? And how do you help our economy grow so we create the jobs? Because that's the other part of the story that people don't know enough about. For most of last year, unbelievably, we here in California, we had the highest rate of unemployment in America. Amazing. I mean, we're supposed to be this great economy. I mean, right now I believe we're second or third. It changes from month to month. The jobs report just came out, so we'll see. I haven't looked it up, but, we're really doing incredibly poorly. So we've got to do two things. We've got to help people who are working keep more of what they are, make more money, and end up with more money in their pocket. Yes. For people who are working, especially people who are working incredibly hard but still struggle to stay afloat. And that's a lot of people. Some people working 2, 3 jobs, and it's still a struggle. Right, so we've got to help the people who are working but are struggling financially. But then we also need to grow our economy so that we create jobs for the people who aren't working. You've got to get both those parts. So when I thought about all of that, and what does that translate into a tax plan, that's how I got to what I'm proposing, which is, number one, your first 100 grand, first 100,000, 100,000 doesn't get you very far in California these days. I mean, to people in other states, that may sound like a lot of money. In California, we know that's not. So, your first 100 grand tax-free, no state income tax. You like it? Over 100, flat tax, flat rate, 7.5%. Flat rate is good because our tax system is insanely complicated. It's a massive headache. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, you look at the current list of taxes in California, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like, I don't know how many rates there are, 9, something like that. And even if people earning 70,000 and above pay 9.3% tax, state tax. It's ridiculous. So it's all too complicated, all too high. So we're going to reduce the top rate, comes down, flat rate 7.5%. Makes it simpler. That's how we get the entrepreneurs back, the businesses who are leaving, and create the jobs of the future. It's pro-worker, pro-growth at the same time. That's my tax plan. And you may say, well, how do you make that? That's expensive. How are you going to pay for that? And it's true. It's ambitious in terms of what it's wanting to achieve and how much it would cost. But we've done the numbers, and actually to get to that, to deliver that tax plan, no tax if you earn under 100, 7.5% flat tax over 100, would reduce state revenue by 18.5%, which is a lot. But all it would mean is taking California state spending back to what it was before the pandemic. This is not some crazy scheme. This is this was the budget just before the pandemic. So that's my plan. And coming back to the direct question, which was about property tax, to me, that's why I focused on income tax. I think that's the highest taxes that we have relative to other states is our income tax. That's the highest. And so I wanted to focus on that. I think that's the quickest way of helping people and helping the economy grow. And my pledge on property tax is not to increase property tax and to protect Prop 13. That's my pledge. I wanted to just say one thing, and then let's get some more questions about San Diego and what I saw this morning. And you know this very well, but I wanted to see it for myself. The sewage situation. It's unbelievable. And I've read about it, and I've seen the videos, and Jim Desmond in particular has done a fantastic job raising awareness of that. I went down today, and I went to see it with the mayor of Coronado, and he explained it, and we were there. It's so shocking. It's worse than I had even thought. And the fact that it's been going on for so long, and it's coming in, and you know the fact, but here's the point I want to get to. And by the way, the one part of it I hadn't appreciated was, as well as it's shutting down Imperial Beach and destroying the community, and often beaches are shut down beyond that. The Navy SEALs having to train in this. It's disgusting. The smell is disgusting. They get diseases. This is what I learnt today. Our Navy SEALs. And then literally when we were out there, right in front of our eyes, we got it on video. You'll be able to see the video later. There they were. They literally came out, the SEALs, from the training base. In and out of that disgusting mess. Well, yes. And here's the point. Of course, it's not the Democrats in Sacramento that caused that. It's coming from Mexico. So let's be, fair about that. But what are they doing about it? Nothing. I literally said to the mayor, what has Gavin Newsom done about this? Nothing. Literally nothing.
He doesn't work for
exactly. And
making promises he never.
Exactly right. And you've got mayors, and you know this very well, but I learnt it for the first time today, the details. All the local mayors, Republican, Democrat, begging Gavin Newsom to declare a state of emergency. Because only when he declares a state of emergency can you get the federal state of emergency to actually start doing something about it. He refuses to do it. I couldn't believe it. So I said this morning, and I'll say it here again to you, it's probably the easiest pledge, frankly, that I'm going to make in this campaign. When I'm governor, I will declare a state of emergency about the sewage situation. And we will start to take action. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because you can actually get things done. And we've had so long of this one-party rule by these Democrat machine politicians that don't understand how to do anything. It's endless BS, as we were hearing, and the process and the regulations. Meanwhile, everything gets worse. They take more of our money, and everything gets worse. That's basically the story. Anyway, let's have some questions. Yes?
My name is Melanie. Mark and my husband, have been big fans of your talk. Anytime we saw your head, we was like, go listen.
Oh, the head. Very good.
My question is twofold. First of all, how do we educate people about how the primaries work? There are right now 9 people, I think, that are already Wildfire is a hard one. How will you and all these other candidates, somebody has to, several of you have to step down in order to get the vote, to get you or whoever is top in there, so we get
in the top two. How are you going to get
Yeah, so the question's about the top two, and I mean, first of all, what a ridiculous system. I mean, I know it's set that way. It was the ballot initiative, wasn't it? And I know, and here's the thing. Don't blame me. We just got here. I wasn't allowed to vote then. I wasn't a citizen, mind you. The way things are going, that's no barrier, is it? Anyway, I have understood from talking to people that the point of the top two system, as they intended it, as it was sold to people, was to make the politics and the candidates less extreme. Well, how's that going? I mean, it's just gone more and more left ever since. It's ridiculous. And of course, you get this insane situation in many, many districts where you have two Democrats. I mean, that's totally disenfranchising every Republican voter. It's outrageous. So, of course, we need to get rid of the system. And I've said that for years. But specifically to your point, I think that there's a very simple way to answer your question. And I don't think we need to go in and sort of explain the system and all this kind of stuff. I think there's a very simple thing to say. If you want change in California, vote for Steve Hilton. That's the answer. And what I really mean by that is, in the end, it's about getting someone strong into the top two. And I'm not going to be negative about other Republicans, but I will say that actually the way I see it right now, the split is more actually not quite what you were saying, which is that there's a lot of Democrats, but so far, I mean, I'm not aware of that many Republicans, other than Chad Bianco. I've seen 9. There are 9 Democrats.
No. Well, they still have until March 2026 to sign up, so there's probably going to be more.
More Democrats or more Republicans? Maybe, or maybe not. You know, like I'm just to be honest with you. My job, that's why I'm running. Is to show all of you and anyone who's interested in change in California that I am the best bet to take on the Democrats, win in November in the general election, and save our state of California. That's my job, to show people that I'm the guy that can do that.
I agree with that, except that the liberals are they only focus in on Democrat instead of Republican, and what they'll do is just give all their extra Democrats a COVID shot, take them out, and they'll have the one.
Well, you know, there's all sorts of... I just think there's no... my response to all of these things to do with the voting and this is like, there's lots of things we need to change because they've endlessly mucked around with the voting system, and we know that. But none of it is possible unless we win. And we have to win with what we've got. So there's no point complaining about what we've got. We've just got to win every vote. We've got to register voters. We've got to get out there. That's been happening. Paula knows that. This party's been doing a great job of that. The state party's been doing a great job of that, actually. Republican voter registration is going up. Democrat registration going down. It's going in the right direction. And so we've just got to work hard for every vote. Lady at the back, sorry.
My name is Eva. I'm a member of the Claremont Republican Women. And just to answer one question, the reason the top 2 things came into play was so that Arnold Schwarzenegger could get elected. Otherwise, he was...
Well, he was elected in a recall, so...
But anyway, but that was the top 2. But my question is, Donald Trump has said that if you're a senior, your house is paid off, then you will not have to pay property taxes. Will the state of California follow that lead and give, because seniors are losing their homes because of property tax?
Well, it's a very important issue. As far as I'm aware, it's not something the federal government can address. So he may have said he would like to see that, but it is a local thing. I think also, I mean, we do have that carve-out for over 55 and above. You can take the rate that you've got. So let's say you have your house from 30 years ago, and it's a low rate. I mean, not low rate, low amount, because it's based on the price you paid. And then you want to move maybe to a smaller house. And of course that's a barrier because suddenly you're hit with with the escalation in property prices, you're hit with a massive increase in property tax. But there is a carve-out for over 55 to keep your original rate. So I don't think that's, I mean, look, there's a lot wrong with the system. I don't think that's the worst part of it. Do you agree?
Well, no, I benefited from that because I moved to San Diego 2 years ago. And I was able
To keep your rate, yeah. I keep saying rate. Keep the valuation. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nadia. What is your plan for wildfire prevention and insurance for California?
Right. The question was, what is your plan for wildfire prevention and insurance? Well, let's take them in two parts. My plan for wildfire prevention is to actually prevent wildfires. And not totally, of course. That's a bit, but to prevent the mega wildfires, the out-of-control wildfires. And that's the point that the Democrats, the people in charge, the environmental extremists don't seem to understand. That wildfires are a natural part of the forest ecosystem and help keep the forest healthy and have for generations. Before anyone was even here, everyone understood that. But really starting in the sort of late 60s, 70s, you had this ideology of fire suppression. All the fires must be suppressed. And so that's why we've got these ridiculously overgrown forests in the Sierras. And then here on the coast, we've got the overgrown brush, the chaparral kind of landscapes. And then you add to that the water mismanagement. So you have forest mismanagement, right? They haven't allowed controlled burns. They've basically let the forest get overgrown. Then you combine that with the water mismanagement and the fact that everything has been dried out so much because they're not capturing and storing the water. That's also affected the way the runoff goes. I spent a lot of time on this. And of course, when you have too many trees, they compound each other, those problems, because when you have too many trees in the same acreage of forest, and we have like double, treble the volume of the number of trees than what is healthy in certain areas, of course they all take up more water because there's more of them. So there's less water to go around. So that's why they dry out. And when they dry out, they don't have as much sap. And when they don't have as much sap, they're more vulnerable to infestation, like the bark beetle. So now you have this situation where so much of our forest is now being attacked and dying. And of course, when you have the dead trees, they're dry, and that adds to the fuel load. So there's just this terrible cycle of mismanagement. And the answer to it is actually, again, there's so many of these things in California. The answer is just simple, plain, common sense. Like, it's not complicated. And I think this is the big theme of everything, really I'm saying in this campaign, which is we've had so much ideology from the left. All these things, they're not practical. So it's, this environmental ideology, and that's why they don't let the forest get managed properly. We just need to be practical. At the same time as all this has been going on, they've been shutting down our logging industry, our timber industry. So here are the actual numbers. So a decade or so ago, we harvested from our forests 6 billion board feet. That's how they measure it, board feet of timber. 6 billion. Now it's 1.5. It's a quarter of what we used to take out of the forest in the form of logging. We're not using any less. In fact, we're using a little bit more. Where's it coming from? We're now bringing it in from Canada. Why is that good for the environment? So, as I say, we've shut down the logging industry pretty much. Sawmills have shut down. You go to the Sierras, it's a nightmare. Communities destroyed, jobs lost, the timber industry massively under attack. The forests get overgrown. You get mega wildfires. The mega wildfires release even more carbon dioxide. So all of these things that we hear that they do is in the name of climate and reducing CO2. But what it's ended up doing is increasing CO2 because of a combination of the CO2 released from the mega wildfires. Like in 2019, those wildfires in that one summer released more carbon dioxide than all of the previous 20 years of savings of carbon dioxide from all their climate policies. Right? Just wiped out in 1 year. And on top of that, the carbon dioxide emissions from trucking the logs in from Canada. I mean, it's just so crazy. And so we just have to have a sensible policy. Revive our logging industry, controlled burns, including in the coastal ranges. You talk to people, I mean, here we've had it, and just up and down the coast. Everyone remembers you used to have controlled burns. I mean, I wasn't here because this has been going on 20 plus years now. But people would say to me, you know, as kids or whatever, they remember driving around, there'd be a fire burning, and on the radio they would say, don't call it in, this is a controlled burn, don't worry. All gone. That particular one in Los Angeles with the fires there because of the CARB, the California Air Resources Board, putting in new air quality rules. Well, how's the air quality now after all the wildfires in LA? It's ridiculous. So, if you'd like to read more, sorry, it's a long answer, but we actually did a report on all of this in my policy organization, Golden Together. So, you can look it up, goldentogether.com. I don't know where, there's a lady here.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for coming. I wanted to see if you have any plan in reforming the welfare, because there's so many people taking advantage of that, taking money from all of us taxpayers, because I do taxes and I see them, it's like all kinds of loophole, and they're getting the best. They don't do nothing, but then they get everything. They live like kings and queens.
Can I ask you, I hear this often, and it's one of the things that gets people so angry. We work so hard, and we do the right thing, and there are people who take advantage of the system. You hear it a lot in relation to people who work black market, and also who on the healthcare. You hear that a lot.
Housing.
So tell me, what are this? I'd like to hear from you actually. What are some of the specific examples that you're thinking of?
Okay,
Don't you have to have names, but just
I know quite a few of them that they.
Do you want the microphone? Could you hear? So
Yes. They own a business and they own a nice home. They have it all, but yet here they are getting cash aid, or what is it? Food stamp? EBT. And they live in their own home, but they're getting paid by the housing. But it's being owned by the family member. So
really interesting. Yeah.
I know, I see so much and it makes me so sick of it. And it's out of our tax money.
And I give a very good example of that. My son works at Costco, and I don't mean to stereotype, but he says this is what happens. It makes me angry. So many Muslims come in, and they are using their EBT food stamp. They go help them put it in their car. They have BMWs, Mercedes, diamonds, Rolex watches, nice designer clothes, and they're using EBT. And the same thing that you were saying, they have beautiful homes, they have tons of money, and they're taking advantage.
So I think this is
Put it in the name of someone else.
right.
Yes, yeah.
So it looks like they qualify, because it's an income-based program.
Yeah.
So they have to look like they're at the poverty level, when they're not really at the poverty level. They accomplish that by putting family members. So
It's very interesting. So this is a really, really good point. So thank you for raising this, because I hear it everywhere.
Study Minnesota.
Minnesota, what did they do?
There's a lot of the people there abused.
Oh, I was going to ask you, I thought you were saying they did a good job of solving the problem. Bad job, okay. Right.
It's all right there. You see it.
So I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a note of this. I think what we need to do before we get to how we're going to solve it is really, really itemize the problem and publicize the problem. And so I think what I'm going to do is set up some kind of investigation, right? Exactly. No, I was going to say, and have all of you contribute to that, because we need the real stories. Yeah, no, let's make sure we're connected.
how about
No, seriously, because you obviously really, Okay, sorry, can I just go, and if you don't mind, someone who hasn't asked a question, so, sir.
Mine's kind of a follow-up, but my question to you would be about what would you do to combat fraud in the state government? Because the execution of the government has been so bad on all fronts, on welfare, all the money that went out for COVID, prisoners, and things like that. Like, nobody cares, and no one.
Are you going to Doge California?
So a couple of things. So hang on a sec. Can we have one conversation? Thank you. So in terms of the basic facts. The budget of the state of California has doubled in the last 10 years in pure numerical terms. Now, you've had inflation, so even with inflation, it's gone up 50%. Like, is everything 50% better? No. It's much worse. So they keep spending more and more money, and the results get worse and worse. I mean, most obviously, you see that with homelessness, where all this money and the audits and so on. So it's a massive problem. And it's actually, in a way, the good news is that it's directly under, a lot of this directly under the control of the governor. So, of course, and someone else may ask this question, it comes up in most of the meetings I do, well, what can you actually do? You've got the state legislature and so on. I've got good thoughts on that. But specifically this part, which is the spending, you do control that, and you control the executive branch, and you control a lot of this. And so, and I'd actually, speaking of that word, control, there's actually a statewide elected office that's going to be very important in all this. The state controller. The state controller, we have a very strong I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what I'm... a guy you may know well, certainly from here, Herb Morgan, who's going to be running for state controller. And very smart guy, financial experience. The reason that's such an important job is because you've already got established the infrastructure, if you like, for what we're talking about in terms of what you're seeing at the federal government. Because the state controller can audit any organization in the state of California that receives state money. It's a very powerful position, actually, in the right hands. I mean, we've got someone completely useless now. You have no idea who she is. I mean, I literally know her name, but you don't know any things that she's doing. Hopeless. Well, GPS signal lost. I think that applies to most of the state government right now. Lost signal, exactly. So very important, and really getting to work on the state bureaucracy. I was in Sacramento on Friday, and I did an event there, and the theme of it was the Democrat industrial complex, because it's not just the politicians. It's this whole machine that they've built, and it's very corrupt, a lot of it. And so you've got the Democrat politicians, the unions who fund them, the activists who give them the ideological instructions, the bureaucrats that they appoint to implement all this. It's all of it together, and they've had 15 years of one-party rule. So they got completely fat and complacent and arrogant and bloated and assuming that nothing's going to, upset the gravy train. Well, that is going to change when I'm elected governor. I can promise you that. Lady here.
Hi, Marcella from Favors for a Better California. And I see great homes on your list, and I'm very interested in your policy. I was reading your book, and we're really having a problem with, and I completely agree with your idea of the new urbanization and all of the infill development that they're literally forcing us to do, and no greenfield development, and somewhat of the radical, I hate to say radical environmentalism, but you talk about
that's what it is. You're right.
The tree, we're not allowed, but there is a fire safety risk with building in greenfield development somewhat. So I would like to hear more. I am very opposed to limiting DIF fees, and I think I've had an argument with you or your staff on Twitter, but I'd like to hear what you have to say, because our housing prices have doubled in the past 20 years.
Yes.
The base house price. And it's just an impossible situation for people to live in.
It's incredible. In many ways, it's the central problem, because when you actually look at why people are leaving California, like real people, the number one reason is housing costs. You just can't afford to live here. And it's a nightmare, because it affects, everyone who's here. It affects really important things like the decision to have a family. And you just think, well, I want to have kids, but if it's so expensive and I'll never be able to afford our own home, I don't want to do it. It's terrible that we're in that situation. It affects every part of a family. Parents see their children, leaving the state in order to have the kind of life that they want to live. Grandparents don't see their grandkids. It's a really, really, there's all these different dimensions to it. Of course, it's connected to the homelessness issue. It's connected to the even if you care about carbon emissions, because people are having to live so far away from where they work and drive the whole way because they can't afford a house near their place of work, etc. So it's a massive, massive issue. And it's been driven by ideology. And really at the heart of it is this extremism, this environmental extremism that is basically anti-growth, anti-development, I call it anti-human. And it says you can't live, anything that is outside of the current development footprint, like is not okay. And they call it sprawl, the suburban sprawl. I call it the California dream. And that's what it is. That's what we think of, a single family home. And they're dead against that. So we've had all these rules, and it's not just the specific zoning and the legislation that does that. It's also this bureaucratic stuff, like VMT is a good example, vehicle miles traveled, right? 2018 they brought that in, so that you have to calculate VMT for any new development, and it counts against you if your development is going to increase vehicle miles traveled. I spoke to a guy, it's not on the housing front, but a business guy. He has a artisan gin business in the Central Coast, and he's doing really well, wanted to build a second still. They wouldn't let him because of VMT, because if you expand your business, there'll be more vehicle miles traveled. Well, yes, we call that progress and growth. That's what we should be all about. So I think that, and there's so much that's gone wrong with that system. But even if you just take the numbers that we have now, so basically, why is housing so expensive? It's market, it's supply and demand. There's too many people, not enough supply. That's why the price goes up. So we need to build more housing. But the problem is, the current regime insists that it has to be built within existing communities. That also increases the price, because it makes the land in the existing thing more valuable, more expensive, because you're going to have to carve it out from somewhere there's less of it. They call this density. We have to have density. No. Wait. Let me just tell you. We currently have, this is a fact, California already has the highest housing density in the country, because so little of our land is actually developed. There's so much space in California. You've got right now 1 million housing units in California, over 1 million, that have been blocked, that have been approved by local zoning, ready to go, everyone's happy, but they've been blocked by lawsuits under CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. Most of the lawsuits filed by the unions, actually. So there's plenty of space to build. And there are plenty of places that want new housing, but they're not allowed because it goes against the ideology, which is it's got to be inside the current development footprint. So my argument is this is an emergency. We have to deal with it. And all these rules and regulations that they say, well, you can't be changed. Gavin Newsom just said a few months ago when he was wandering around the Palisades in Altadena, he said, well, we've got to get rid of all this nonsense bureaucracy, he said. Yeah, I agree. Well, he said he's going to suspend it all there in LA. If he can do it there, I can do it everywhere. And I will. That's the plan. So we've just got to loosen up. We've got to, and here's the way I would put it, because another way, they set up this false argument that, well, the reason we don't have enough housing is because of the NIMBYs. And it's the NIMBYs and it's Republicans. Huntington Beach, they're sort of public enemy number one. But it's a false argument. It's totally divisive. We don't need to frame it like that. And they love it, exactly, because they want to, by the way, you never hear them attacking the NIMBYs in Marin County. Where are they putting pushing the apartment buildings into, Montecito or whatever in Santa Barbara County where, all their donors. So it's very unfair. But here's the way I would put it in a more positive way. Before we force housing into the communities that don't want it, why don't we allow the housing to be built in the communities where they do want it, of which there are many right across the state? Let's do that first. Let's build the 1 million+ units that are already approved before we start forcing housing where it's not wanted. I just think it's a totally false choice they've set up. This war on single-family homes, totally disagree with it, and I'm very, very much determined to end it.
I'm just a little bit curious. Now,
up in Palisades, what I understand, 2 houses have been approved to be built. 2 of them out of all of this. What are the chances that they're trying to make a smart city out?
Yes, that's
that
exactly
area?
what they're doing.
So I'm afraid you're being very unfair to Gavin and Newsom and the Democrats. The lady said, oh, it's terrible. They've only approved 2. They've only given 2 permits. Terribly unfair. It's actually 4. 4! 4! 4 permits in 4 months. At this rate, they'll get Los Angeles rebuilt in 2357. It's just insane. And can I explain why? Because there was something very revealing from Karen Bass the other week that really captures what's going on and why it's such a disaster. I saw her put out a post on X, which was, I have just signed an executive order streamlining permits for rebuilding in LA. Oh, okay, good, that's good. 4 months late, but whatever. And then it was above a clip to her. That's what she wrote, and it was above a video clip from her press conference. So then I thought I'd just double check. I'll watch the clip. Watch what she actually said, not what was written in the post, but what she actually said was this. Remember, the post said, "I have signed an executive order streamlining," as if something's happened. What she actually said was, "I have just signed an executive order tasking agency heads with developing paths forward to streamlining." Like, what is that? I mean, you said total bureaucracy, total process over outcome. It's people who think that is taking action, setting up a committee, tasking some, you know what I mean? This is what we've got right across the board on everything in California. And that's really a deep truth about why nothing happens, everything gets more expensive, and all the problems get worse. But the point about the Davos thing, the smart cities, I mean, it's connected to the previous conversation. They really do have they want to tell us how to live. That's what I find so offensive. I love this state of California, and I feel so at home in this state of California because I feel connected to what it represents. And to me, California represents freedom and opportunity and aspiration and energy and hustle and innovation and the rebel spirit, right? This is California, like, be who you want to be. Instead, it's this endless nanny state, bossiness, drive this car, live in this house, live in that, but raise your kids, telling us, what food to, how to cook our food. No gas stoves. So it's just constantly telling us, when did they get so bossy? It's so infuriating. Stop telling us what to do. Stop telling us how to live. It's infuriating. We've had enough of it. That's not California. It's anti-California. This ridiculous vision. I mean, the nice way they put it is, let's have European-style city. We're going to make everything like Paris. Excuse me, I know Paris. I lived in London. This is California. It's totally different from like some, medieval city with little streets and, an underground railway system in London that was built in the 1870s. It's just ridiculous. They don't understand. They're not going. This is what I hate so much about these bossy, bureaucratic-minded people. It reminds me back, I don't want to overstate it, but, my parents left communist Hungary for a reason. Yes. They were left in search of freedom. And this should be the ultimate home of freedom, California. That's what I'm going to get it back to. That's what I mean by making this state golden again. I'm so sorry. We've got time for one more. Oh, no, I can't. I'm going to do 2 more. Sorry. Okay. Gentleman here, lady at the back. Yes.
So, Steve, my wife and I watch you on TV. You're the only person we watch on Fox News because we feel like you're straightforward and honest person. That's what we came to listen to. So I hope, I've been in San Diego since 1989. I came from Israel. I built a great flag for myself. I believe in capitalism, and I run a successful business, work at a hospital. We live in a neighborhood in Sunset Cliffs. It's one of the most beautiful neighborhoods probably in the world. And this morning we were walking our dogs, and the city is finally after like almost living there for 8 years, the infrastructure that we have, it looks like a third world country. Like literally. I'm going to show you a picture over here if you don't mind. This is what the city puts the signs, the handmade signs on the street.
Oh my
handmade
goodness.
signs on the street.
It's really shocking. Handmade signs.
The city puts on the street, basically. To really, it's despicable. And not only that, they're not fixing the street, they're like patching the street. I already have like multiple flat tires from potholes, basically. So it's really, really sad for me to see San Diego, that I love that lived here for 36 years, going down to like this and becoming a third world country. Going back to your point about the sewer system like we have down, Mexico doesn't respect us. Countries don't respect us. The border
Now
here,
they do.
well, hopefully. But what I feel is like, I worked at Mercy Hospital for like about 30 years. I was in charge of intensive care. We go out to the community. We do, charity work. We paint schools and all the stuff. We went to women battered clinic called Niagara. And the lady gave us a lecture about San Diego. I don't know if you know that or not, but San Diego is the #1 city when it comes to human trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking.
The #1
Yes.
city when it comes to drug trafficking. They bring these women, they put them in the truck stops at the
Yes.
border, and they force them to have sex with 20, 30 men a night.
Do you have a question?
Yes. My question
No, I didn't mean it like that.
my question to you,
You're making good points.
yeah, my question to you is, what are you going to do about the crime in San Diego and the state of California? Because we're at the point, like, we got called, the alarm went up at our house, and it took the police 7 hours to come to our house. 7 hours to come to our house. And there's other questions I'm going to ask you, which is really serious questions. I don't know what you're going to do about putting the #1 criminal in the state of California in jail. His name is Adam.
#1 criminal. Okay. So I didn't know where you were going. I didn't know where you were going with the #1 criminal.
There are several.
I had a new name for him. If you follow me on X, do you all follow me on X? Okay. So because I couldn't believe it. Adam Schiff was mentioned. He was on Bill Maher last week, and Bill Maher's show on HBO. And it was just a classic example of what I was saying earlier, which is now you have these Democrats saying, how bad everything is, right, in California, on their what. And yes, Adam Schiff, the nerve of it, sitting there, it's terrible. All this regulation, and the housing's so expensive, and this ridiculous regulation. California, it's impossible. We've got to do, who's been in charge? Your party. And they never for 1 second take ownership of the fact that they're the ones who've been in charge and have caused these problems. So I had a new name for him. Used to call him Shifty Schiff, and now I'm calling him Blame Shifty Schiff. Like blaming someone else. Blame Shifty Schiff. So the thing is that on crime, of course, crime is very much a county and local issue. Sheriffs, police departments, and there's a big variety of quality, frankly, in law enforcement across the state. Not from the officers, but from the leadership. And I'm 100% behind law enforcement. I think that we've had politicians in Sacramento who have undermined law enforcement, and that is a huge reason why things have gone off the rails, because people don't want to join law enforcement when the people at the top don't have their back. So when I'm governor, you can be sure that I will back law enforcement to the hilt, because they do an incredible, brave job for all of us, and we need to support them. And the real answer to your point about, well, what can you do at the state level, there's a couple of things. First of all, to make sure that we have enough officers. We don't right now. We have, if you look at the recommended number of officers per population, we're way below where we should be. And partly that's because they've got the wrong priorities for funding, but it's also because of these years of undermining law enforcement. And, they talk about defunding the police, but in some cases they actually did. But beyond that, they demoralized the police. And so who would want to join when you're just being attacked by the people that are in charge? So we've got to totally turn that around. The other thing that's very important to bear in mind is a big part of crime is reoffending. And if you can reduce reoffending, then you can reduce crime. And we do a terrible job of that in California. We need to do a much better job. And they've had this whole strategy of, they call it decarceration. This is, by the way, what's driving why we're in such a mess with this ridiculous situation with 16 and 17-year-olds. It's not being a felony to sell a 16 or 17-year-old for that row that you had this week. Why are we in that situation with these ridiculous things? Because of, and we all know about Prop 47. That was the big one that Kamala Harris helped push through when she was AG, legalizing theft, $950 a day. Of course, that was reversed, much of it, by Prop 36 last year. But a big part of the problem that's not as well known is the one that came 2 years afterwards, Prop 57, which was pushed by Kamala Harris. Actually, even more deceitfully than Prop 47. It was Prop 57 that downgraded a really long list of horrendous crimes from being automatic felony to felony with automatic jail sentence to felony without a jail sentence or sometimes even a misdemeanor.
Steve, I'm going to
right?
interrupt just for a second because this is really important. Justice affected youth. That's a nice way of saying gangbangers. Okay?
What did you
That
call it?
justice affected youth.
Justice
A nice way of
youth.
saying gangbangers. Okay, so you think 17, 18? That has now gone up to 25. And with that, in conjunction with that, we used to have a thing called Honor Ranch. It was the largest sheriff-owned and operated county prison. It wasn't a prison, it was a jail. And it's up in L.A. It is now effectively a prison. And what happens there is you have 9 different categories of prisoners. And it used to be Honor Ranch were the drunks. It was the drunk holding pen back in the 60s. 9,000 prisoners are there in 4,500 beds. They are actual hardened prisoners so that the people who were there at lower classes, those classifications have all been downgraded.
Exactly.
They're now let out onto the streets. And so you now have hardened criminals up to the age of 25. And this is the kicker, getting housing.
Getting housing.
We build housing for them.
It's exactly right. It's a huge underreported part of the problem. It's downgrading all this crime. Again, driven by ideology. No one must be in jail, right? In prison. And, it's all the data, every piece of social science research, policy research, whatever, is incredibly clear that the best deterrent to crime is 2 things combined. The certainty in the mind of a potential criminal that you're going to be caught and prosecuted, that you're going to get caught and you're going to be prosecuted, and combined with that, the certainty that you will be punished, that you'll get a punishment. And if those 2 things aren't there, it's basically a green light to commit crime. We've got to restore the certainty. That means more officers, that means supporting our officers, but it also means having the capacity to deliver what society expects, which is holding people accountable for their actions. Well, the good news is that the governor appoints judges, so that's another thing we can deal with. I'm so sorry, we have to go. One last question. I did promise the lady at the back.
So I hear your policies, your ideas, which are good. And the one thing that comes in the back of my mind is the thought, Arnold Schwarzenegger. We get him up there, a Republican, yet the Sacramento is being controlled by Democrats. And it's very difficult to try to push a lot of your good ideas, I think, with the Democrats. How do you approach this situation?
I'll tell you very clearly. Number one, when I'm elected governor, that will have been a political revolution in California, and I will expect the legislature, whatever it's comprised of, to work with me positively to enact the agenda that the people will have just voted for. I will expect them to do that. If they don't do that, one way or another, I will get it done, because that's what people voted for. So let's go through the list. Number one, when you look at all these things that are going wrong in California, so many of them come from these agencies. It's actually not even the legislature, it's the Air Resources Board and the Coastal Commission. And if you're in the Central Valley, as I'm often in the Central Valley, the Pesticide Control Board and the Water Resources Agency, or you look at why they're shutting down how are they shutting down our oil industry? Insanely, so that we're importing oil from Iraq on giant supertankers instead of getting it from Kern County. It's CalGEM, right? It's a state agency that's just not issuing permits. You can literally change that overnight. The ridiculousness in the schools, right? The public schools, all this ethnic studies curriculum that's coming in, even as we have 47% only of our public school students can meet basic standards. In English, for math, it's 33%. We're not educating our kids properly in the basics. Meanwhile, they're pushing an ethnic studies curriculum. Who's doing that? The State Board of Education. Who appoints the State Board of Education? The governor, all 12 members. And you go on and on down the list. You've got to have your plans ready. You've got to be clear about what you want to do, and you've got to put good people in there with common sense in all of these state bureaucracies. That's number one. Number two, all this legislation that's coming out of the legislature. Let's assume it's the Democrat legislature still. Let's assume they have a 2/3 majority. The governor can veto everything that comes out of the legislature, literally everything. Now, you may then come back, because you know how this works, and say, well, they can overturn a veto with 2/3 majority. That is absolutely right. But it takes them time to overturn that. They have to go through a process. And when you've got these people churning out literally thousands of bills every year, if you veto them, they don't have time to overturn all of them. So you can slow it down. You can hold back the tide of nonsense coming out of Sacramento with your veto. Number three, we saw what they did with emergency powers in the lockdown, using them in horrific ways to hurt people, to hurt businesses, to close down schools and businesses and small businesses and churches, shut down for no good reason. I was the first, remember, I was the first anywhere in the nation, anywhere, to speak out against the lockdowns. When everyone else was still saying, we got to close things down, I said, no, the science is BS. There is no reason to close anything down. We need to protect the vulnerable. So I stood up against everyone, I mean everyone, apart from a few people who stood with me when I made that argument on Fox in March 2020, right at the start. Jay Bhattacharya, who is now brilliantly, beautiful revenge, head of the NIH. Charlie Kirk, my friend Charlie Kirk, who's supporting me, who endorsed me on day one of this campaign, was with me on my show that night. A few of us spoke out. So they used those emergency powers. Gavin Newsom used those emergency powers in a way that was totally unjustified and crushed people right across this state. Well, now we've seen how powerful those executive powers can be. Let's use them for a positive purpose. There are a lot of emergencies going on right now in California. A hell of a lot of emergencies. Pretty much everything is an emergency. So that's another option. Number 4, judges. We heard it over here. You appoint judges. So many of the things that are going wrong are the result of bad judges, far-left ideologues. You appoint the judges, you can make a difference there. So you're right. You can't wave a wand and fix everything. But with determination and clarity and conviction and a fighting spirit, we can make a much bigger difference than we've seen for a generation. I'm telling you right now, this is our best shot for at least 20 years to turn things around and save California, and that is what I'm going to do. Thank you very much, everybody. Great to see you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You get this lady's name. Okay, very good. Okay, fine. Let's do it.
We have to. A couple more pictures and we have to roll.
Okay.
I'm so sorry because I have to. Yeah, of course.
See, very good. Oh, very good.
I'm the chair.
You might do this way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I got a phone.
Great to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Have you got any inside
Great.
scoop on if the voting machines are going bye-bye?
I don't know about that. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Let me come on here.
Let's go.
Okay, yeah. We're going to save California. Exactly.
Let's go. Okay, let's go. I need him in here with me.
Okay, come on. All right, very good.
I'm the only one that got the memo. Keep California.
Here we go.
Okay, ready?
All right.
Susie.
Keep California golden.
Okay.
Here we go. Yes.
2, 3. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Thank
All right.
you
Thanks,
very
Steve.
much. We're so excited.
I got to go. I'm literally going to the border.
Yeah, we have to go to the
We're going to
border.
check out the sewage at the source.
Hello, Governor.
Hello. Okay, say that to the camera. Tell them that.
Hello, Governor.
All right. Very good. One more. Yes. Hi.
So nice to meet you. Oh, it's so nice. We're so proud of you. Steve, I loved your shot.
Thank you.
And now we're off to the border.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Stay positive. Don't
Thank
let
you.
it.
Do you have to run? Do you have to run? Can I just get one of our old?
Quickly though, because I really do have to run.
Roger, so nice to hear you.
Good to see you. Thank you. Hey, how you doing? Good to
You
see you.
better win. My wife wants to move to Florida, and I
No. We're
I
going
don't
to
want
stay
to leave
and
San Diego.
Exactly.
You better win.
Exactly.
All right, I am a lifelong California. And my whole family is left. I'm staying here fighting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
One thing real quick, work on the gasoline tax. That affects 90% of the people, 90%
Yeah,
of
we looked
adults,
at it.
regardless of what party.
We looked at it. We can't do everything at once.
Especially carb. Taxation
No, I know.
without
I know.
representation.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye. See you later. Thank you. All right. Diego, that was a very lively crowd. I love all those questions. What I love about doing these policy forums is you get really, really good questions. And it's not, sometimes you don't have the answers. And it's a really good way of understanding what people's priorities are. So there's a really important question there about all the fraud and corruption in the welfare system. And I know about that at the general level because you hear all the time. But actually what we do need to do, it's a good prompt for me to set up a process so that we develop really strong plans around that. So that's why I love doing these events, because you always get something useful. Of course, it's nice to meet people and get the energy from this campaign going, because people are just so excited and enthusiastic, and that gives me a lot of strength. But actually, I also find it very, very useful in terms of specific policy plans, because you always hear what the priorities are, what we should be working on. And so I love doing them, and we try and do them everywhere we go. But also thank you very much for being with us. And, send me your comments, any thoughts you have at all. You know how to get in touch on social media. And please join the campaign, stevehiltonforgovernor.com. Sign up, volunteer, all that kind of stuff. We definitely want everyone on board. We're building a grassroots movement. And then finally, like this and do all the things to make sure that people know how fun it is to be with us here at a California Policy Forum. See you next time. Thanks, everyone.